The News with Shepard Smith debuts tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on CNBC. The nightly news program will provide deep, nonpartisan coverage and perspective on the day's most important stories. And joining us right now is Shepard Smith himself. Shep, thank you for being here. It's great to see you, and I just want to say welcome. I haven't had the chance to welcome you in person. We are thrilled to have you here tonight, and really excited about tonight's start.
Becky, we're all excited. Coming here is it's been an amazing experience already, and bringing together some fantastic journalists to try and come together with a mission that we've been working on for years, and that is bring the facts, the truth, and the news without telling you how to think about things and without pundits. And we're launching on a challenging and I think historic day where the president has said that he's refused to say that he will accept the outcome of the election necessarily, with some caveats, where he told a white supremacist group to stand by and get ready to stand up, and where the vice president and his opponent called him a clown and a liar, and where there were a flood of misinformation. And Becky, frankly, a debate the likes of which the United States has never seen. There has never been an event of that nature in this nation. And now we have to figure out, are we prepared with checks and balances to make sure that whatever the people decide, either way, that the will of the people is done, that we can be sure it's been done. So we'll lean on historians, we'll lean on the FBI to tell us about who these groups are who have been told to stand by and get ready to stand up. And we'll try to take a look at where we are and where we're going on what I really believe is a historic day for the democracy. Challenging.
Yeah, Tom Friedman has a column in the New York Times today just saying that, he grew up reporting, starting out with the Civil War in Libya, and watched a lot of things happen that he didn't think could happen. What do you think you'll be taking on this tonight in terms of how you look back at today's events and how you put it in context? Well,
I think if we were doing a 7 a.m. newscast, I know what we would do. We would go through what was said last night. We would give explanations to the degree possible for the groups and people who were discussed, the issues that are before us, racial injustice, income inequality, the challenges of COVID. The list is long, but we're 12 hours away. And with recent history as our guide, a lot will happen between now and then. Will Republicans come forward to stand by the president and all that he said last night? Or will Republicans and their leaders do something different? Will the president come out and denounce white supremacists and confirm to the nation that he does not want them to stand by, to stand up? And what will Democrats do to try to combat the things that happened last night? We don't know what the day brings. We had a great plan, Becky. We planned to come out. The Breonna Taylor transcripts are going to be released today. There are fires in the West that are historic in and of themselves, and lives are uprooted. We have COVID surging in areas of the country, including places that have been hit before, like New York City, but in the heartland across the Midwest. We have indoor dining starting in New York tonight. We have schools that are now underway. We have historic challenges in multiple buckets, and it is very, very difficult to wrap your head around it as an American, and it's difficult to wrap your hands around it as a news organization. But that is our challenge. And when people wonder, why is everything opinion? Why are people just yelling at each other about everything? It's a reflection of who we've become.
That, I think, was the most disappointing part of last night. We spoke with Frank Luntz earlier, who was looking at focus groups of undecided voters. And let's say the 15%, maybe more, of the voters in this country who went to the debate last night looking for answers, looking for policy solutions. That is certainly not what they got. The lack of civility and the breakdown.
It's interesting that you say that, because our plan, you plan for everything. You try to. We did not plan for what came. We planned to have Biden's take on policies toward a number of issues: COVID, governance, racial injustice, election security, and then the president's take on all of those things, to put them back to back with different policy and procedure information. And then we have polling that will be debuting tonight as well to give us an idea of how the people thought about it. But that's not what the debate became. Becky, I know Chris Wallace for decades. He was prepared for a debate. He was not prepared for what came last night. None of us were.
We had that discussion earlier this morning. And look, having lived through some of these debates in the past, if you're going to have debate rules, you either need to change the rules to accommodate what's been happening in the debates, or give the moderator the ability to cut off the microphones or something, because what we watched last night was really kind of a Twitter fest, of watching the worst of Twitter live being played out for 90 minutes.
True, and that's process, and that's future, and that is a very worthwhile discussion. But that it doesn't ignore, but it puts to the side where we are at this moment. It is unquestionable that both sides will say we need to come together as a nation, because if we don't come together, we're not going to be able to solve our big problems. We can history as our guide. If everybody can't come together and say, here's our plan of attack on COVID so our people stop dying. Here's our economic plan so that our economy can thrive. Here's how we're going to attack racial injustice and social unrest. Here's how we're going to attack climate change and the way that it's affecting all of us, whether we want to believe that it's coming from one place or another. All of these issues must be attacked, and we cannot attack them and cannot solve problems until we all come together. On this, there is universal agreement. So maybe there was hope that last night might be a way to come together where we could say, okay, this one wants to take us in this direction. This one wants to take us in this direction. Which direction do we like better? And that would help us put together in our minds who's best for us, given our worldview and what we want for our families and our communities and our churches. Here's who's best for me. Last night's debate did not give us very many policy answers at all. It gave us a fight, and it gave us more of a fight. And we're not closer together. And without getting into opinion, because that's not what we're going to do tonight, it's not what both sides say they want, and it's not where we are.
Yeah, and Shep, I will say just how that plays out in a very real level in Americans' lives and how it's going to impact the economy. We've been talking about that this morning. There is the airlines question. Will there be a package put together for the airlines by tomorrow? You're facing a huge deadline for this. We're with anywhere from 30,000 to 100,000 employees, knowing that they will be laid off, that they'll lose their jobs. If there's not some plan that's put forth to come up with some comprehensive care. And by the way, both sides say that they agree with this. This seems to be a bipartisan issue, but even this can't make its way through Washington right now.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because I've been working for the last month on an hour-long documentary which will air on CNBC coming up. And it centers around airports and the airline industry. It's what, 5% of GDP? And there are tens of thousands of people who don't know what tomorrow. I've talked to flight attendants, pilots, ramp workers, store workers inside airports. The work has been exhaustive. Dozens and dozens and dozens of people in this building have been working on it. And every individual, tens of thousands, are trying to figure out different plans about how they're going to survive. But the one overarching known is, if there is not, you would call it stimulus, I call it disaster relief. If there's not disaster relief, people are not going to be able to pay their rent. They're not going to be able to buy their medicine. They're not going to be able to take care of their children. If there is not a safety net, both sides agree on this, nonpartisan. But because we're so divided, we can't come up with a way. And if we lose that sector and airlines go under, it's not about a business. It's not about a statistic. It's about a cab driver I met from Queens who came to America, who lives with his wife and his 2 children in the same apartment in Queens with his brother, his wife, and their 2 children. One of them died of COVID. The cab driver continues to work and did so through no passengers and no money incoming. And after all these months, in a neighborhood in Queens that was ravaged like few in America, His message to me after an hour-long interview was, I've come to an America where I want to seek the American dream, and I have not lost hope. I will work. I have worked. My family works. 6 of us or 8 of us live in an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, less than 1,000 square feet in Queens, and we're trying to stay safe and figure out how to pay the bills. We will get relief. America will not let us down, and we will find the American dream. He goes, we just need a little bit of help. I'm working myself to death. We just need help. Smiles from ear to ear. I'm in America. America will provide this for me, and I will serve America with every deed. Those people cannot be lost, and both sides know it. We need solutions immediately and in the long term, or both sides agree the democracy is in trouble.
Yeah. Shep, I look forward to that documentary. That's that kind of hope, that sort of spirit that we are all grateful for. And thank you for being here, Shep. It's really great to see you.
Becky, it's nice to finally meet you, and Joe and Andrew. You know, Joe and Andrew are kind of a microcosm, aren't they? They come from different worldviews. They you know, you fight it out. But Joe and Andrew agree America is an idea, and America... We lift up and we give opportunity, right, Joe and Andrew? Yeah. There's room to agree on these matters. And if we don't come together, we see what's going to happen.
We saw last night how we don't want to be, right, Andrew? I think we can disagree, but not be disagreeable.
And we as people who have the honor and privilege of a platform, I believe, have a responsibility to set a tone. All of us, politicians and people on CNBC and everywhere else. Shep, we have to disagree with civility.
I was thinking I was gonna like joke around with you a little bit, but we got so serious I decided not to.
We can joke too.
Okay, well, I was just wondering whether, I mean, do you know how lucky you are that you're gonna get Xfinity now? I mean, I don't know where you live, but I mean, it is. And then I was thinking I was gonna ask you, what do you watch now? I mean, you watching your old colleagues? Do you watch Squawk Box and just CNBC all day long now?
Home Edit. I watch Home Edit. 2 funny women go into closets and clean them out. It gives me order and structure. I read everything. I watch it all. I kind of avoid opinion programming because I'm not in the opinion business. I really want to bring the facts so people can decide for themselves. And that's what I've always done. It has never been more challenging. Sit down for an hour and find the facts of interest, distill them, give them context and perspective so that people can work with those facts from their lives. It is a challenging endeavor. And I've got dozens of people upstairs right now who woke up at 4 o'clock this morning and went, how are we going to present this? How do we distill this in a way that we are helpful? And everything in America is a level of challenging that I don't remember, and we got to get it together.
Shep, one of the things I love is that, you know, you don't come from New York or Los Angeles originally, and that you want to make sure we understand what's happening in the rest of the country. I love that you want to focus more on the wildfires that I just don't think we've given enough attention to.
We haven't, and we will, because, you know, we focus, you know, here's wine country, because that's what you recognize. These are families who don't have anywhere to go. If they go to shelters, they're dealing with COVID. COVID is spreading. Anyone who says, oh, we found a good place, we haven't. The scientists are clear. This is going to be an enormous challenge in the weeks ahead. You know, the likelihood of shutdowns and separations again and trying to avoid giving it to your parents and grandparents. We don't want to kill off all our elderly. We have to do the right thing to keep from doing that. We're nowhere near herd immunity. The latest from the scientists is 90% of everyone in the country, 90%, that's almost 300 million people are still susceptible to this disease. The number of challenges before us at this moment is unprecedented in at least all of our lifetimes. And the very first thing we have to do is come together, the left and the right, the small communities, the big cities, the West Coast, the East Coast, the southern tier, and up on the Canadian border. We all have to come together and say, we need solutions, and we need to start agreeing, or we're going to look back. History is going to reflect horribly on all of us.
And just remembering in these difficult times that everybody has things that they are dealing with at home that you don't know about. So We could at least be civil to each other, at least be kind.
Andrew, did someone muzzle you?
They're always muzzling me. So, but we're always, as you know, trying to do the facts. And I care about the facts that you're going to present tonight, and I'm excited to watch the broadcast.
Wait, this is you muzzled? The last few months, that's you muzzled? Is that? Oh man!
As you know, I like Shep. I only do the facts too. So we'll watch Shep this evening.
Wow.
We'll get there.
It's in the eye of the beholder, I guess, isn't it?
We'll try our best.
Yeah. All right.
Good luck, America. We love you.
Hey, Shep. We do. And Shep, we are really looking forward to this tonight. Thank you for being here this morning, and we will be watching tonight. That's tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. This is the debut of The News with Shepard Smith. It is right here on CNBC.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.